Hey everybody, my name is Fernando. My team and I at Double Blit Games are super excited to bring Game Director Story to our very first Ludonarracon. Game Director Story tells the story of what it's like to make big games, to understand some of the real game development challenges that are faced by a lot of these teams. Before starting on Game Director Story, we found there weren't really a lot of games that made game development the focus of their story. Occasionally you also read in the press or you see players ask all the time, like, why do big games sometimes go out with a lot of bugs? Why do we keep hearing about crunch situations at big studios? Or how hard can it really be to make a game? With Game Director Story, we want to make sure that we can take a realistic look at how big games are made, including all the amazing aspects of it, but also not shy away from some of those unsavory bits at times. You play as Alice, a game director, whose job it is to take your initial budding development team at concept all the way through shipping your first game for a big publisher. Getting there isn't easy though. As much as possible, we want to put you, the player, in the shoes of making or influencing those kinds of decisions, giving you the circumstances that lead up to that situation, as well as being able to see the consequences of how those decisions can have an impact on the game or your team members, or how the press or fans or other stakeholders respond to those things. Rich characters are at the core of Game Director Story. Each character has their own branching story arc, and over the course of the game, you'll get to know each of them. You'll get to understand their struggles, their successes, share their experiences with them that are true to life. Game Director Story is primarily driven by conversation. For example, in this scene, we have Molly, who's your technical director, and she's pushing you to make sure that your team doesn't work overtime. This is a commitment that you all made together as you were starting up the studio. But you're under pressure, and you understand that there is pressure from the press or publisher and from other factors, which could put the studio and its livelihood, the livelihood of the dev team members at risk if you don't succeed. You have a tough decision as to what do you do in these situations. The choices you make impact how you're doing, seen here with the team, publisher, game, your budget, and PR icons, which represent the outside view of the studio and the game. That includes things like influencers and press, and ultimately you, fans, and the community. Choices can also directly impact team members. So each team member has personal values that affect them and that they feel really strongly about, in addition to something we call a frayed state. The frayed state is a visual indication of their general tiredness or just ultimately the wear and tear on team members due to various decisions. One of the themes of the game is that you'll rarely be able to make the perfect choice. Often you actually know what the right decision is, but based on other factors, that can make making a certain decision very difficult or sometimes even impossible. And all of those things vary depending on how you've been playing up to that point and the choices you've been making up to that point. For example, if you choose to hire someone because your team was asking for additional help, the team indicator might go up. At the same time, your budget indicator might go down because you're using some of the budget for the game in order to do that. If you dip below a certain level in any of these, your project could be at jeopardy. So it's about balancing each choice you make to get you across the finish line and ship the best game you can given the circumstances. One of the other themes in Game Director Story is that you rarely have enough time to actually deal with everything. So each day you have a variety of conversations that you can engage with, but ultimately you have to choose which ones you should spend time or prioritize. Of course, you might also decide to work late in order to deal with or try to deal with everything. And while short-term that may sound like it has a benefit, long-term ultimately that comes with a steep cost. Everyone on the team is passionate about games, and in particular, making them in a sustainable way. With Game Director Story, we wanted to share that love while shining a light on some of the issues that might come with it, both good and bad, and to start a healthy conversation for anyone who can relate or empathize with the experiences in the game and everyone else that is curious about just how games are made. We're still developing Game Director Story, and we've got a long way to go, but you can download the early demo that we have available on Steam and check that out. The demo right now is focused on the main mechanic, the conversations, which are played out in a kind of Slack or Discord type interface. The full game will have a bunch of other activities, including mini games that you'll be engaging with and not just conversations. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get other folks on this video, but I really hope you'll join us during Ludonarracon when we do our streams, where we'll have the rest of the team available to talk about what they've done. We hope you have fun at Ludonarracon and really appreciate you playing and supporting indie games. If you enjoy any of the titles that are coming up during Ludonarracon, please be sure to wishlist, follow, and tell your friends about those games. That is by far the best way that you can support any of those developers. Thank you so much.